Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Sox On Tap.
Tony, my first reaction is just, fuck yes, let's go.
Sox versus the Twins. That's where it all starts. It all starts taking care of business in-house in the Central Division.
That's right, I'm a meatball.
You got to bring that top button swag, baby.
It is always great to beat the Cubs.
And I'm a homer, so I always say they're gonna.
Dallas Keuchel Lansing got some beards that you should be afraid of.
What everybody said when he gets out there, it's me versus the other guy, and I'm going to beat him. So I just love that mentality. It's cool and fucking tough.
Steve, would you say that Tony is mad online?
I would definitely say that.
The White Sox winner.
Hello, White Sox fans, and welcome into another edition of the Sox On Tap postgame show. It's Tony Marchese tonight. I am joined by friend of the show, Chuck Naso. Chuck is joining us tonight, filling in for the guys who are out, having a good time at the ballpark. Chuck, welcome on in. It's been a while. How you feeling, man?
A lot better than I have since opening day, I guess. This was an awesome win after the first awesome win yesterday. So I can't complain right now. Let's keep this momentum going.
I 100% agree with you, Chuck. It's been a wild ride, and the Sox are riding a 5-game winning streak, now 1 game back in the Central Division. This has just been such a roller coaster of a year. I was out at the ballpark last night. I believe Johnny and Steve took care of the post-game duties and talked about a crazy comeback win against the Houston Astros. We're here to do the exact same thing tonight. Be sure you're following the show at Sox On Tap. Drop in the YouTube. You can find our YouTube at On Tap Sportsnet. Follow myself at Tony On Tap. And Chuck, why don't you tell the fine folks where they can find you on the old Twitter.com?
Just at Chuck Naso on Twitter.
And if you're not familiar with Chuck's work, Chuck is a Barstool Sports guy. Chuck, you do a great job over there. I'm glad to have you on the show tonight, big White Sox fan. You were on a couple of post-game shows last year. I would say most of those were fun. They were lighthearted shows that we got to do, talk about, a fun baseball club. And it kind of feels like we're going back to last year when I've got you on the show now, and things are feeling fun. The vibes are high. I think that, you go into a must-win ball game like tonight. Justin Verlander, Dylan Cease, we're going to talk a lot about that. But, man, you say you're feeling good now. Is this the high point this far in the White Sox season?
Yeah, and I think at the low point during the season, I think the only thing I could see happening was that stretch run where you could just really get the momentum going into the playoffs. That was the only thing I could see happening that could turn this thing around, that quick stretch run and just absolutely running the table and taking it to the playoffs. And I think last night, that inning, that's the type of inning and ending to a game that starts one of those runs. So, and we saw it happen again tonight. And even though we weren't scoring off Verlander, it still felt like there was competitive at-bats happening leading up to the events of the 7th inning where Gavin Sheets tied up the ball game. It just felt like a way more competitive at-bats, only giving up one, even though we only scored 1 run off Justin Verlander. I felt like we were in a good spot compared to games past.
We absolutely were. And last night being at the ballpark, Chuck, it just had a different feel to it. I'm assuming for those who were there tonight, the ballpark had that same kind of feel, especially as the Sox battle back. But we got to talk about some of this pitching matchup stuff, because this was the talk of MLB today. Justin Verlander versus Dylan Cease, the two heavy favorites to win the AL Cy Young this season, Chuck. And I always sort of get that feeling whenever there's going to be a great pitcher's duel that it never really lives up to the hype that everybody builds it up to be. But what were your thoughts on, this matchup, what that might mean for, Dylan Cease and the Cy Young race, or Verlander himself here, because he had his spots where he got touched up too. Just give me some overall thoughts on, did this live up to its billing, and what this means for both of these pitchers?
Yeah, I mean, I think C's felt good through those first 2 innings, and then you obviously saw the wheels fall off with the 2 leadoff walks. And he kind of got back to his old ways. And I was talking to some other people about this while he was pitching those first 2 innings, but it seems like a lot of his success has come to throwing the slider over the plate for strikes, or those borderline strikes that get guys to either swing and miss or make outs early in the account. You see Verlander does it well. He's just always over the plate, always competing, always trying to get guys to get themselves out, more than being the power pitcher that he was when he originally got called up. I mean, he still can strike you out, but he's going to get you to make yourself get out. And that's what I want to see from C's as he develops. We're seeing a lot of it during this run. Obviously the training wheels fell off a little bit today in the 3rd inning with the walks. And I think that's more so because he was getting a little curveball happy and he started throwing the curveballs in the dirt. And these good teams like the Astros or the Yankees, they spit on that curveball way more than the slider. So if you don't throw a competitive breaking pitch that a guy wants to swing at, then they're going to take their walks and they're going to mash and take advantage of it. Luckily, we got the pickoff to Josh Harrison that kind of, I think, saved a lot more runs that should have come in that inning. They tacked on 2. That's going to happen when you're facing guys like Tucker or Bregman. Those guys are just going to hit. So, yeah, it didn't live up to its billing, but that's going to happen most of the time. At this point, I don't care about Cy Young matchups. I just want to win fucking baseball games. Maybe if we were like 15 games up in the standings, I'd be a little bit more concerned about Dylan Cease winning the Cy Young. I want to see my pitcher have the Johnny Cueto attitude of winning baseball games. That's all I want to see. So if Dylan Cease can win baseball games and win the Cy Young, I'll be happy, but let's just win baseball games to begin with.
Yeah, around here we call that putting one in the left-hand column, Chuck, and then that's exactly what the White Sox were able to do tonight. I would agree with you. This didn't live up to its billing in terms of a great pitching matchup, so to speak. I'm pretty sure you're a betting guy. I don't know what the line was. I thought it was
Astros, I think, were minus 127 favorites going into that game tonight.
What was I know the White Sox, I think it was their over-under on runs scored was set at 3.5. I think they tipped that over there. But, I mean, in terms of a low-scoring game, I mean, this is kind of middle of the road, but I just don't think that either pitcher kind of gave you that shutout stuff. I know Verlander had a nice little stretch run there where he retired a couple in a row. I think he got up to 7 at one point, kind of quieted the White Sox offense. But you've seen the same story. White Sox have come back late against the Houston Astros in the last 2 ball games, and that's exactly what they did there. Now, you brought up one of the most interesting plays of the ball game, which was the Dylan Cease pickoff of Jose Altuve at second base. And, Chuck, I think that personally was a key defining moment in this ball game, because if you don't execute that pickoff right there and the inning goes the exact same way, I think the Astros get an extra run out of this here.
Yeah, and it would have felt, I think, it's the difference between like a 2-run ball game and a 3-run ball game. And I think a 3-run ball game feels, at this point, the way our offense has performed, feels like a tough thing to overcome. A 2-run ball game, we overcame it last night and we overcame it tonight. It just always feels more doable to me. I don't know why, but once you get to that 3-4 runs, I feel like game over. Maybe in years past where we were mashing baseballs over the fence every inning, I'd feel a little bit more confident. But when you're playing station to station baseball, got to keep it within 1 to 2 runs for these comebacks.
You absolutely do, and I think that's why that play was just so fucking huge in this ball game, Chuck. Getting him out there. Let's talk a little bit about the old Andrew Vaughn in right field play, because that's how the Astros wind up getting these runs here, man. Andrew Vaughn, you open Twitter.com, you see this, you see the takes, you see what people say about having Andrew Vaughn in right field. Steve Stone mentions it on the broadcast that, he's a first baseman playing the outfield. There's a lot of White Sox fans that are just plain fed up with this shit. And, here's a play where you can make an argument, and I'm pretty sure it's a fair argument to say that a guy like Adam Engel or somebody else that actually plays the outfield a little bit more and has a little bit more experience would have caught that ball. But I heard you say sometimes guys like that are going to hit. What are your thoughts on Andrew Vaughn in right field at this juncture, man? I'm curious for your thoughts on it.
Yeah, man. The way the lineup is made and the way this roster has been constructed, at this point, we have to put a first baseman or somebody who can't field in left or right field at some point. Like Eloy's got to be in left field so that Yaz can DH, or when Robert's hurt right now, you have to put Pollock in center field. So we have two bad outfielders on our team. Obviously, I think Vaughn isn't a right fielder, but I think for what he is, he does a pretty damn good job of being a serviceable right fielder. He doesn't do anything dumb. He just can't make the great catches you would want from a right fielder, a normal right fielder. Yeah, it's frustrating. All you can ask is that he maybe mashes his next at bat, but you can't be mad at a guy who's a first baseman his whole life that can't make a catch in right field. And if you are, I mean, then be more mad at the front office or Jerry Reinsdorf that we didn't sign a right fielder.
Yeah, I think that it's just kind of at this point a little asinine to get on the manager. This is just my opinion, or Andrew Vaughn himself in some of these situations. There's been other baseball teams that have been successful with playing guys out of position because their bat is just that valuable to the lineup. We were talking about this a little bit earlier in our Sox on Tap group chat, Chuck, and we were mentioning the fact that Andrew Vaughn has to play right field every now and then, but it's still a sticking point. There's a lot of people. I mean, our guy Steve on the show all the time talks about how he might be the worst defensive right fielder. This isn't going to go away, and I think that there's been rumblings of how you fix this problem, but it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the offseason with it. It rears its ugly head once again today, and that's how Dylan Cease gets touched up. They don't give Andrew Vaughn an error on that play. You saw Dylan Cease get a little bit frustrated, I would say, with Andrew Vaughn, or the outcome of that play, so to speak, when that happened. And Dylan Cease's historic streak of under one earned run over the course of quite a few starts in a row comes to an end there. I don't know. Are you giving him an error? Are you giving Andrew Vaughn an error, Chuck, or is that a base hit?
I mean, no, that's just a tough play. It's off the glove, but you're not like making it. I don't call that an error. Okay. If you had to outstretch your arm, no.
I didn't know where official score Chuck was at on this one. There was a lot of official scores online.
If Dylan Cease had a gun to my head, it would be an error.
Yes.
Once again, don't fucking care. We won. Don't care. We won. I don't care about earned runs. We won.
Put it in the left-hand column.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's talk about how we get that done, Chuck. The White Sox offense got off to an early lead, but then we just talked about what happened there out in right field. Houston tacks another on in the fifth, but the seventh inning, the Sox mount a little bit of a comeback here to tie the ball game. I thought this was actually some very beautiful managing from Tony La Russa to bring in Gavin Sheets. He's my boy. I don't know if you know this, but Gavin Sheets is my boy. I work with him in the backyard all the time on, just being clutch and being elite and doing cool and tough shit. And once again, he comes up and does some cool and tough shit for the White Sox in a pinch hit situation. I believe he's 5 for 10 this year. That's 500. I'd say that's pretty fucking good. Hashtag good. As always, we're working to confirm if that's the case. But Chuck, we've got some heroics here from my boy Gavin Sheets. I mean, what are your thoughts on the entire comeback here? Once again, I need to hear it from you.
Yeah, man. It feels fucking awesome when it's happening. I do have a weird superstition lately of on one of my other TVs. I've been playing the audio and keeping it on mute, and they have been scoring runs every time I do that. So I did that tonight, and I didn't hear Gavin's heroics, but I was watching it and screaming very loudly over the muted TV while listening to a different podcast. But Gavin came up there, and I don't think Sosa – did he pitch it for Sosa, right?
He did pinch hit for Sosa.
I don't think Sosa was going to do the job right there. That was just the obvious move. Thank God it was. I am not a Larry guy. I know you're a Larry legend guy as well. But I'd rather see Gavin Sheets in that situation. He's more poised, going to give you a better chance to hit the long ball and put up a better at bat, I think, than Larry there. He shot it down the line, got a big hit, and maybe that gets him going. And honestly, he doesn't need to get going. He's hit some pretty big home runs, and I think he gets a lot of flack on White Sox Twitter. I think he does deserve some respect right now after his last couple outings, and that's a big hit.
It absolutely is. And, I was perusing some Astros Twitter, maybe some gambling Twitter after that took place, and there was a lot of people who were big mad. I'm talking just like White Sox fans get mad anytime anything goes wrong online at Dusty Baker for not pulling Justin Verlander when La Russa pinch hit Sheets there. They said, go to Eddie Lefty in your bullpen. This was absolutely egregious. That was Gavin Sheets' first time facing Justin Verlander. Let's be real here. Verlander's one of the best pitchers in the game. You got guys screaming and yelling that Verlander should have been taken out there. It felt good, Chuck. That's what I'm trying to get to. It felt good to see us kind of shit all over somebody else's night. All the people who took the Astros money and all the people who root for the Houston Astros. It felt good. I felt fired up. I felt just absolutely right there as a White Sox fan. Just a proud moment. Of course, my boy delivering and the White Sox being able to, just get back, into a tie ball game and make this thing run. We got to give credit where credit's due here. We gave it to Gavin. I've got to give it to a bunch of names in the bullpen that I normally hate seeing come out. So let's just quickly roll through this White Sox bullpen on the night, Chuck. Jose Ruiz came on in relief for Dylan Cease, and he worked a very, very nice inning. He did give up a hit. But he did strike out one batter, and he got the job done. I remember when people were saying that Tony pulled the punt squad out tonight, and the punt squad, first inning from Ruiz, scoreless. Then you get Vince Velasquez in there. He does walk a batter. Gets himself into a little trouble.
Can we talk about that inning?
Yeah,
he
let's talk about it.
He had two batters on, and I was also watching this on mute, and it felt like somebody was twisting my testicle watching that inning.
Yes, this was a rough one.
Sometimes you just get out of those innings. And I think we deserve, after how many times we've been fully kicked in the nuts this season, I think we deserve two clean innings there every once in a while.
Yeah, we do. And Foster gets sent down the other day. They brought Vince Velasquez back. I think that there were some people who were upset about it. I didn't know how I really felt about the move, but Foster's had his struggles, and it's Vinny Velo. He's had some stretches this year where Vinny Velo's been on. He's also had stretches where he's been terrible, but he gets out of this one. I mean, it was escape artist type shit.
I think with Foster, too, I think it's more of a fatigue thing for Foster. He's been mopping up a lot of bad innings. I think they send him down the minor leagues because he has an option. Let him rest a little bit. Use Vinny as your mop-up guy for a few weeks, and then maybe bring up Foster again. Hopefully you get that high leverage guy we saw earlier in the season with a new breath of life from Foster. So that's my mentality of why they did that. But yeah, hopefully that's what they're thinking.
I'm right there with you on that same thought process, Chuck. I do think that you haven't seen the last of Matt Foster this year. We'll see where it goes. But the one name, Jimmy Lambeau, comes in a very high leverage situation. In your eighth inning, strikes out two. He does give up a hit, works around all of it. He's scoreless. Jimmy Lambert has just been absolutely phenomenal lately, Chuck. I can't explain it. I don't know why. I've watched a lot of doubleheaders where Jimmy Lambert, is your call up to start game two, and things don't exactly go the way that you want them to. I've watched him struggle. I've felt for this kid for a while now. It is awesome to see him succeeding in some very, very high leverage spots. The velocity's there. I've loved his growth over this season, Chuck, and I feel like it kind of culminated here tonight. La Russa giving Jimmy Lambert the ball in that 8th inning. You got any thoughts on
Yeah.
my guy Lambo? Let's hear him.
Yeah, and this goes back to, I think La Russa was talking to the press the other day, and he was comparing him to a young Adam Wainwright closing games out for the St. Louis Cardinals. And it kind of makes a ton of sense. It's a young guy who maybe struggled early on starting, and he gets to go in the back end of a bullpen and absolutely toss gas and just throw his 2 nastiest pitches whenever he wants to, and get to show it off for 1 inning, balls out. And sometimes with pitchers, that's just a mentality change that can absolutely change the way you approach pitching. And I think that's what's happening with Jimmy Lambert. And I think that's the one thing that La Russa does very well. And I know he gets a lot of flack, but I think he sets up guys for success out of the bullpen. He slowly tests them in some high leverage situations, and then he kind of fully throws them in the deep end. Guys like Reynaldo and guys like Jimmy Lambert now. And those are the type of guys you're going to need if we're going to make a playoff push. Those are the guys. We can't just go Kendall Graveman, Liam Hendricks every night. Can't happen. We need Reynaldo to shove 100, and you need Jimmy Lambert to show up for the 6th, 7th inning. And now this pen's looking pretty formidable even with Diekman. Like, Diekman's given up a couple bombs, but he's looked pretty solid in his kind of low, high leverage situations in the 6th, 7th, 8th innings. And then Joe Kelly's been pretty good. So, yeah, man, the bullpen's looking on the up and up. I don't know. What do you think about Lambo?
I'm loving the development from Lambo, and you brought up a name here, and this is where I was going to go with this. It's almost the same sort of trajectory that you saw, maybe a shorter version of the story, but what you've seen with Reynaldo Lopez, right? A guy that, comes in, does a little bit of starting, struggles a little bit, shows some flashes. You throw him at the back end of a bullpen, and he does get to feature those 1-2 pitches because he's only going through the order once at most. And I just feel like you can unleash a little bit more of your stuff because you're not trying to hold some stuff back for that longevity. And I think that can build some confidence. It helps somebody who's, maybe got to keep it throttled, just unleash it a little bit more. And I've loved the development from him. I think that they've done a pretty good job with Lambert this year. He wasn't a guy that I had on my radar to even be pitching in, high leverage situations at all. Maybe a couple spot starts through the year, but I've loved what I've seen, Chuck. I think it's been one of the more positive developments on the White Sox this season. If you can continue to do this down the stretch, I mean, you're talking about innings that were probably going to go to Garrett Crochet, somebody who that White Sox fans have been very high on, and that was a very unfortunate injury. They've kind of been struggling to figure out where those 6th, 7th innings go. And it's been Reynaldo Lopez and Jimmy Lambert. I think they've been very positive developments for this bullpen. And you're right, they are looking kind of formidable. Earlier on this season, there were so many question marks, rightfully so, because things weren't getting done. And now things are getting done at the back end of the pen. You brought up Jake Diekman. His stuff's nasty. We were sitting all together, the Sox on Tap guys, a couple weeks ago at one. I think it was like his 2nd appearance. Just watching his stuff from behind home plate, man. He's got a lot of break. He's just filthy with that slider, and he's a guy that wants the ball all the time too. So I'm feeling better about this bullpen than I have in recent seasons almost. Right now as things have kind of developed, man. I don't know if I'm way off base on this, but it feels good. I mean, you went to the punt squad technically, and they got the job done today against the Houston Astros, who are a good baseball team. So and sometimes it works.
And we're lining up there tomorrow now. Now we have Kelly, Graveman, all available tomorrow, and Diekman. It's all available the next 2 games. This is with no off day. You have to get innings from Ruiz and Vince Velasquez that you got tonight while you're down in a game 3-1. You just can't afford to throw a Graveman out there today and then have no closer tomorrow if they can't use Hendricks after using them back-to-back nights. You just can't do it. It can't happen. Somebody's going to get injured if we throw out Liam 3 nights in a row, or Graveman multiple times. So we got to figure it out from there. Can't pitch every game like it's Game 7 of the World Series. It sucks, especially when it's a big game like tonight. But I'm glad it worked out.
Hey, this is just realistic talk here, Chuck, and that's what I appreciate when you and I get to converse some baseball. So I love you bringing the realistic just sentiment towards this. Not every guy's going to be able to go every day, and that's just something that's going to happen. I look at this as kind of role players stepping up and doing their job. That's, what most good baseball teams have. Guys who aren't your everyday guys. I'm talking about Larry Garcia. I'm not trying to, bring this full circle, but you've got not everyday guys who step up and do their job, get the job done, that leads to a win that sets you up for tomorrow to be successful again. And that's what you're bringing to the table when you talk about how now you have basically bullpen A squad ready to go for Game 3 in this series. And I think that they've managed this very well. Guys executed. It's wonderful when the players execute, Chuck, because then nobody's mad. It just worked out. That's just what it is. White Sox win this game, and we got to talk about how it happened. This is a guy who has not had the best couple seasons, I would say, has been very, very hotly contested over whether or not this guy is good. The name is Yoan Moncada, Chuck. Everybody wants to talk about Yoan Moncada. Your guy, coworker, White Sox Dave, said the other day that he was done with Yoan Moncada. And ever since Yoan Moncada's been done, Chuck, in White Sox Dave's mind, Yoan Moncada has gone out there and won a couple ball games for the Chicago White Sox. He's also one of the most clutch hitters. I've seen some stats. I mean, this guy was batting like close to 400 with 2 outs, runners in scoring position. He's doing things that you wanted from a phenom that you traded Chris Sale for lately. I don't know what's happening. I feel like the universe has kind of just flipped the script. The emotion that I saw out of Yoan Moncada after he had the game-winning hit tonight was just, fucking electric. I don't even know how to describe the feelings that come over me, the goosebumps that I get as a White Sox fan, seeing Yoan Moncada out there swinging his arms down, screaming into the night as he once again takes down the Houston Astros. That's the shit I want to see if I'm a White Sox fan. That's the shit that I want to see all the time. That's superstar shit. I know he hasn't done it all the time, but he's been delivering over these past couple of games, and he's done it against the Houston Astros before in his career. I remember Yoan Moncada walk-off a couple of years ago when this kid was just coming into the big leagues, getting the job done in big moments. I want to see the consistency, but man, am I just fucking impressed with the big moments that he's been delivering on lately. And he's bringing a little bit of emotion to this team right now, Chuck. Give me some Yoan Moncada thoughts. I want to hear him. And is White Sox Dave now banned from being a Yoan Moncada fan? I'll let you finish it off with that.
Yeah, I think we are just banned from banning stuff, because I canceled the season the other day. They've won 5 straight. Since Dave has canceled, I think we have the best record in the American League. I never canceled Moncada, though. He was always a confusing player to me, because you could see he wanted to be good, but he has a lot of confusion at the plate. It always felt like he was late on fastballs, could only drive off-speed pitches, wasn't looking to be aggressive early in the counts or late in the counts when he had 2 strikes. He always, striking out looking. What's very nice to see, what I saw, there was 2 things I saw last night. He came up ready to swing and swung at that first pitch fastball and fucking pissed on it up the middle. And then tonight, after the single, that emotion is all I've wanted to see from that guy. And I think seeing emotion from a guy who's usually reserved, when you're in the dugout, get you fucking amped up when you're in the dugout. If you see a guy like that who's not usually fucking fist bumping at first base doing that, that would get guys jacked up. So seeing Moncada get those 2 hits is huge, man. And who cares if he hit 200 this year? It all goes out the window if he runs the table with us towards the end of the season into the playoffs. Like, if this guy goes on an unprecedented run, like, how can you be mad at him? I think we all just wanted to see this from him. So I'll eat my words all day, any day of the week about Yohan Moncada after seeing performances like this on back-to-back nights. I think he has it in him, and I think this is just a start from what we can see. He's a great defender. Maybe he just needs big fucking crowds and the bright lights and big situations to get it going, but it's happening.
You bring up a good point. Maybe it's the big crowds. Maybe it's people being, they're tuned into the game. I do want to say, I was talking with my guy, Sean Roberts, who's also a Sox On Tap contributor. I'm not sure if you know Sean, good guy. But we were talking about the feeling, Chuck, in the stadium when you get a bunch of White Sox fans who are out there cheering for the game. You've heard the Let's Go White Sox chants through the weekend against Detroit. You've just felt more energy in the ballpark past couple of days. And yes, that starts with winning, but that's how shit gets contagious in my mind. And I think that when you've had this, I don't know, positive energy, man, in that stadium over the past couple of days, you've seen guys deliver a little bit better. I don't know, just something that I've noticed. You got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's the cascade effect. He came in there, he started playing those fucking EDM jams up, and the energy in that ballpark has never come down since he played that post-game concert the other night. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's very contagious. I missed a few of the games this weekend just due to my sister's wedding. Watched on my phone, so couldn't really pick up the energy off of my iPhone. But from the looks of it, it did. I watched the highlights after the games, and it did look just like a completely different team and a completely different ballpark than what it has been. And the last 2 games have looked like the playoff games. It's contagious, and if people see that, they're gonna be like, I want to go to the ballpark, and you're gonna fill up that ballpark every night. So good job on Sox fans, and it's definitely it's such a contagious thing for the players to play in that environment. And if people keep showing up to the park, I can't see them not bringing that energy day in and day out for these next 45 games, these next huge 45 games coming up.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a wild ride to the finish. We talked a little bit about it right before we got into breaking this game down. Obviously, Yohan Moncada with your game-winning hit again tonight. But Cleveland lost today to Detroit. Sox and Twins both 1 game out. It's going to be a wild ride to the finish. Obviously, the Sox have a couple more to play against Houston here, Chuck, and then it's Cleveland, man. That's going to be something. Let's talk a little bit about the road ahead here for the White Sox. We've got another game against Houston tomorrow. We started out 2-0 against them in this series. What are your thoughts on tomorrow's ball game? Another 7-10 day. We got Kopech on the mound, Chuck. He was brilliant in his last start. Obviously, there was a lot of takes online, I would say, about Michael Kopech's last start. I was pretty adamant I wanted to see him in another inning. I don't know how you feel about it. I wanted to see him go for it. I just thought it would be cool and tough. Might kind of derail his developmental plans, but sometimes, you want to see cool shit on your television screen as a sports fan. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But Michael Kopech on the mound against the Houston Astros, he's got to be jacked. What are your thoughts going in tomorrow?
Who's he facing? Is Framber pitching for the Astros tomorrow?
Let me grab tomorrow's probables here. But
while you're grabbing that,
sure he is.
I'll go on Kopech. I didn't get to watch last start.
He is. It's Framber Valdez tomorrow.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't get to watch much of his last start, but from the highlights I saw, his fastball looks like it's all the way fucking back. Like it is that heavy fastball, even though it says 97, probably feels like 101 when you're up there. But you just can't extend him past I don't know how many innings he won. Was it 6 or 7? You can't extend.
He went 6 in his last start, Chuck, and 85 pitches.
So with this TJ thing that he's coming off of, or the innings limit, obviously, you just got to be careful because I'd rather see him go 7 or 8 in October than 7 or 8 versus the Tigers in August. That's just my thoughts on that. I think that's way cooler and tougher is going 7 or 8 in the fucking World Series. But Kopech not having that dead arm anymore gives me a lot of confidence in him. He's my favorite guy to watch when he's on. I think when he has that pinpoint control and absolutely just dots those fastballs on the outside corner, just nasty slider. He feels like he's the type of guy. When he's on, he has everything on. And I'll go back to that Yankee Stadium game, but that Yankee Stadium game is some fucking true A shit, and that's what I'd like to see tomorrow from Kopech. And I think he has some revenge on his mind after the Sunday night game versus the Astros at their place. So maybe he can make some adjustments and maybe give us a good 5-6 innings, and then we can get it over to that big healthy bullpen of ours tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm looking for a game, Chuck, where we might not have to rely as much on our bullpen. Obviously, you've got Kopech on that innings limit that you talked about. Pretty sure they'll have a quicker hook on him than most other guys in this rotation. So let's be efficient. I want him to work efficiently through at least the first couple innings here. That control is going to be a big part of that, Chuck. Let's not try and strike everybody out. Let's use the defense a little bit. Let's get things rolling here so you can get a little bit of longevity. But having the bullpen ready to go, probably part of the White Sox game plan, knowing that they've got Kopech tomorrow on an innings limit. So we'll see what happens. Sox are going to be facing off against Framber Valdez. As we mentioned before, he's 11-4 with a 2.73 ERA. Kopech entering the ball game 4-8, 3.18 ERA. It's another nice pitching duel, man. I know we talked about Justin Verlander versus Dylan Cease, but this is going to be another nice pitching duel, and that's what you get when you get two ball clubs that have good pitchers on their staff. I'm expecting this White Sox offense to kind of ride this momentum that they had the last 2 nights into tomorrow, Chuck. I know that it's been rough at home, but it's starting to feel better at home. I expect the crowd to be just the same as it was in these first 2 games against the Houston Astros tomorrow night, and hopefully we see more magic. You got to pick to click for tomorrow's White Sox game.
Oh, I do. I have been a Pollock for leadoff guy before it was fucking cool. I've been saying it as soon as Timmy went down, put that guy in the leadoff spot, and I think he's the catalyst to this run. I think he's going to get very hot for this remaining stretch, and I think he's going to fucking put one over the fence for Framber tomorrow night in the leadoff spot.
I love that. I'm also a Pollock for leadoff guy. I wrote something over at ontapsportsnet.com about Pollock being a leadoff guy pretty much a couple hours before Tim Anderson got injured. The news about Anderson getting injured came out, so I don't know if I feel personally responsible for that one, but catalyst he has been, and I know that this is kind of a highly debated topic on the interwebs, but I like Pollock in the leadoff spot. I was thinking at that point in time before we heard of the Tim Anderson news that it might benefit Timmy to go down a little bit in the order and maybe use some AJ Pollock against certain situational matchups to lead off for the White Sox because he seems to perform better there. I don't know why. I can't really explain it, but it's just weird baseball shit. And I wish that people kind of, understood the superstitions of things. You've been talking about your superstitions. We're big superstition people on this show, Chuck. You talked about having the game on mute. We've had instances of, Johnny changing shirts and changing positions as to where we're watching the game, changing locations, all that good shit. What it is that you wear on certain days. Yeah, I've been in these sunglasses every single White Sox win because it keeps the streak alive sometimes. We'll figure it out. But AJ Pollock in the leadoff spot just seems to work. I love that pick to click. I'm going to ask you a question after I give mine, and we're going to go a little bit more in depth on that as we close the show down. But I might have a little bit of a meatball take on this one. But I am going to go with, for tomorrow's ball game, Mr. Andrew Vaughn, if he's in the lineup. Terrible day today. Absolutely terrible day today in right field. Obviously, he probably feels bad about that, gets pulled out of the game when Gavin Sheets replaces him. I felt like he was chasing the high fastball a little bit tonight, Chuck, because he wanted to make up for it and he wanted to leave the yard. I look at that as kind of some over-aggressiveness. He's going to sleep on it. He's going to come back tomorrow and he's going to do some damage because his bat's been fairly hot. This was just kind of an outlier game, so I'm going to go with Andrew Vaughn for my pick to click tomorrow.
I like that. That's somebody I was definitely looking at. I mean, he drove the shit out of that ball in the first inning too. So one of those two guys, both of our guys had shitty games today. So I think that'd be nice if both of them went off from the 1 and 2 hole, and unless Robert's back tomorrow, then we might see a different little lineup. But yeah, man, I like both of those picks from us for tomorrow.
I do as well. So I want to get into one last little topic of conversation before we get to our final thoughts, Chuck. This is kind of a thing we do here called Sox On Tap Investigates. And my investigation that I would like to launch on the White Sox is, did anybody expect this run to happen after Tim Anderson goes down with an injury? This is kind of a little bit sus to me, as the kids would say out there on the internet. It's kind of suspect that this is all happening without Tim Anderson, because I was told that the season was going to be over when Timmy went down. This is the worst thing that could have possibly happened, and yet here we are talking about some of the highest points of the White Sox season. A.J. Pollock being the leadoff guy, Tim Anderson out of the lineup for the foreseeable future. We'll see if his 6-week timeline holds. I'm assuming there's going to potentially need to be some sort of rehab. There might not even be the opportunity for him to rehab with this, depending on how long it keeps him out. So you're going to get him back up to the big league squad. That's not good news. I don't think White Sox fans want to see that. Obviously, Tim Anderson is the best option at shortstop for this team. But does it come as any surprise to you, Chuck, that we're sitting here right now talking about the best stretch of White Sox baseball, and Tim Anderson is on the shelf? I don't know why that could possibly be happening. It makes no sense. So let's investigate. What the hell's going on here?
Man, the last couple weeks leading up to that injury, Tim Anderson was playing bad, low-level baseball. And he wasn't hitting in the leadoff spot. He wasn't fielding it. And it just didn't feel like he was that spark plug that we were used to seeing. When you don't get that from Tim Anderson, he's a guy that doesn't see a lot of pitches and makes a lot of fast, quick outs. And then you get to your two-hitter, and it's Luis Robert. That's another guy that likes to swing at the first pitch. Then you find yourself in 4 or 5 pitch innings in the first inning. That sets the tone for the game. Then you go out on defense, and the guy might make an error. And I love Timmy. I think when he's on, he is a spark, is a catalyst. But when you put him and Robert together in the order, for some reason, when you put them 1 through 3 together, it just feels like it doesn't work. It's too much swing and miss early in the lineup. That was my big thing about A.J. Pollock, is that he is a swing and miss guy, but he will see pitches. He might see at least 5 pitches in that leadoff hole. And that changes everything. Just a guy who's going to see more pitches than a guy who's going to get a bunch of singles. Like, we need that in the top of our order. We need guys who are going to take pitches, see pitches, to offset the guys like Robert or Eloy or Timmy when he is healthy. And I think what we're seeing from Sosa and even Larry, like, I love watching Larry. Larry is actually not a bad shortstop. I think if there's anywhere in the field where I like to watch Larry play defense, it's most likely going to be shortstop. I think he's a very formidable shortstop when he's playing there often. I think Sosa's been a little rough around the edges early, but obviously he's young. He has a very good arm. It's nice to watch. It's nice to watch a shortstop that has an absolute fucking hose at shortstop. But yeah, I mean, obviously not having Timmy will hurt. Like, the guy, what did he get? 9 hits in the series versus the A's and the there goes the lights.
You're in the dark now.
Yeah, we got a timer set. He got 9 hits in that playoff series versus the A's back in 2020. Like, that's the type of guy you do want in a series. But hopefully Pollock works out and he kind of just forces his way in that leadoff spot. And then when Anderson comes back, they got to figure something out. Put him in a different spot. Like, I can imagine a world where Tim Anderson bats ninth in your order. Imagine him coming up after Sebi and a couple of those guys that in the bottom of the order get on base. And then you got Timmy fucking coming up in the 9 hole. That's a different type of energy at the bottom of your order. It's weird. He might not get as many bats as he usually gets, but that could just be a nice piece going forward. That's my biggest thing. I just don't think it works out with Robert and Timmy being together in the lineup.
That's an interesting thought, and I haven't really kind of put that all together, so I love that expert level analysis. We entered Sox on Tap after dark while Chuck was explaining all that to me, and it was, as I said, there's the lights back. We're back.
Turn back on. Timer.
We're back. We're back in the light. But I thought that was excellent analysis, man. I really do agree with you on that sentiment of they're quick outs when they're outs. I think that
Eloy's been in the 3 hole. Eloy and Vaughn together. Eloy's been seeing a lot more pitches. He's been spitting on a lot of bad pitches. There are some at bats where you'll see him just swing it. Like, I think tonight that Hector Neres at bat, he swung at like 4 splitters that were all balls, or 5 straight pitches that were all balls. But he still will take a walk or see pitches more than Robert. I like Robert in like the 5 hole. I think he's electric down there. I really have liked Eloy so far, what he's been doing in the 3 hole.
I can see why Robert goes up in the 2 spot, and it's all based on his speed, man.
Yeah.
And I think that, you kind of get baited into Luis Robert in the 2 hole, but I don't like him as a 2 hole hitter. I'm kind of right there with you. So it's interesting that you bring that up. I think that, it's a lot of this is a dynamic change for the White Sox offense, and it's seemingly worked out since Timmy's went on the shelf. So excellent stuff here, Chuck. That'll close that for tonight. Thanks for joining me, man. We got any final thoughts on this Chicago White Sox team before we wrap it up here? I'll lend you the floor here. If you've got anything to air about your 2022 Chicago White Sox, the floor is yours, my friend.
It feels good talking about wins. Let's keep it going. Let's make a run. Let's win a fucking World Series. That's all I have to say.
That's why we're here. That's why we watch this team. I'm hoping that that's exactly what happens. I said this a couple of months ago when things were not so great. I said it's either going to be a very cinematic finish to this season or it's going to go down in absolute complete flames.
Hey,
the fact that the White Sox have hung around so far gives me some hope.
All we know about winning World Series is going 11-1 and walking to a World Series, basically. I'd love to watch the cinematic version this year, so let's do something wild.
I'm right there with you, man. Thanks for joining me, Chuck. That'll do it for tonight's Sox on Tap postgame. Thanks for those tuned in. We'll be back tomorrow. Sox have Houston once again. We'll see if we can extend that winning streak to 6 in a row. Be sure you're tuning in every night. Follow us on the YouTube so you can jump in the comment section if you choose to. Chuck, this was it was fun. You're absolutely correct. Victory beers taste better than misery beers. I'm going to have a couple more of these and wash down yet another winner. Follow the show at Sox on Tap. We'll close it down how we always do. White Sox forever.
White Sox forever. Peace.